How to create project with schedule, that is work breakdown structure. Let's have a look. Now, if you have been following the video series, you might have already learned how to create a code and code lines. If you haven't seen those videos, I would highly recommend that you look at one of my previous video and you will come to know how to create a code and the code lines. Now, for each code line, you can create a project in Dynamics 365. So for example, we can have a code. Each code can have many different code lines. And what you can do is create project for each code line within that code. So essentially what we are saying is one code can have one or more projects associated with it. There can be another scenario where you have many code lines, but for all the code lines, you just create one project. A code can be associated with one project or more than one project. So for example, a code is created for project implementation, training, and support, and it has 3 code lines, and you can either create one project for all the 3 codes, or you can create one project for each code line. Right? And above that, you can also create predefined project templates to quickly create a project. So if you're dealing with similar kind of projects, you can create a project template out of it. And whenever a project comes, you can use that template to create a project very quickly and just make little modifications to it. Let's talk a little bit about project schedule. So in older versions of Dynamics 365, it was called as work breakdown structure, abbreviated as WBS. And in the latest version, it is termed as project schedule. So if you hear the term work breakdown structure or project schedule, it essentially means the same. Okay, a schedule or a work breakdown structure is created for each project to define the project schedule and the resources that are required for that project. Schedule can automatically be generated when a project template is used while creating a project, or it can also be created manually. So let's explore how to create a project template. And when you create a project template, you essentially then do not have to worry about the schedule and assignment of resources. So it is automatically done when you create a project out of that template. Then we'll also see how to create a project using a template, and then how you can review and make changes. All right, so here I am in Dynamics 365, and let's check our menu over here. By the way, if you want to collapse or expand the menu, you can click over here. Okay. So under projects, you will find something called as project template. So click on that. And obviously when you're creating a project template for the first time, you will not have any templates over here. So let's just go ahead and create one from scratch. So let's click on new template over here. Okay, so we have our new template, which is open now. Or let's say as a best practice, it would be good that you give a generic name over here, because remember, you're creating a project template. You're not creating a project by itself. So this template is going to be reused to create your other projects. So let's say I want a template for all of my Business Central type implementations. All right, so over here I have given a name, project template for Business Central implementation. So let's say my company does a lot of Business Central implementations, and I need to handle various projects related to that. So I'm creating a generic template, which means that whenever that kind of project comes in, I can use this template to create a project. Similarly, I can just give it a description over here. And over here, the calendar template is just the default work template. The currency is not correct because the contracting unit is different. So let me just select a correct contracting unit, and in my case it's going to be Tech Quantum AU, and then we have the right currency that we are dealing with, that is Australian dollars over here. Now in this case, since it's a template, so providing estimated start date or estimated finish date or estimated hours or estimated labor cost or estimated expense costs will not make much sense, because this is just a template but not an actual project, right? I can use this template maybe 6 months down the line, or maybe after a year. So this would make much more sense when we create an actual project. So we can just leave it like that and click on save. So once our new template is saved, that is project template for Business Central implementation, in this example, let's just go to next tab called schedule. So this schedule tab was previously called as work breakdown structure in the older versions, of course, and now it's called schedule. So when you come onto this tab, you will see a grid over here where actually you can provide your schedule or your work breakdown structure. There are many actions that you can take on this grid, like you can refresh, you can add new tasks, you can delete the tasks, you can indent and outdent to provide some kind of a hierarchy for the tasks. You can of course move up and move down the tasks, and you can edit the task, and you can move the project as well. Now, as soon as you open for the first time, the project name, or in this case, the project template name, is the first line that is generated for you. And if you remember, we did not provide any estimated start or end dates, but it is taking the current date as default. All right. So let's just go ahead and add some tasks over here. In our implementation, usually the first phase is the requirement phase. So let's just go ahead and create that. So click on add, and then you will see that system will automatically generate the task number and the task name as task 1, right? So I can go ahead and edit that and call it the requirement phase. Now the requirement phase is a broader term. It might include various other tasks, so like project kickoff, key stakeholder meetings, and requirements gatherings. So let's just go ahead and create task under the requirement phase. So if I click on add and rename this tasks, and I want to indent this task under requirement phase, so I can click on indent. Now if I select requirement phase again and if I click on add, you will notice that the next task that is generated is on the same level. I do not want to do that. Well, actually I can indent that task again, but I do not want to repeat that step again. So in this case, let me just delete that, and instead of highlighting requirement phase, let me highlight the last task that we had created and click on add, and it will create the next task in the same level. So now it's 1.1 and 1.2, right? So all you need to do is then change the description, and let's add one more wherein we do requirements gathering from the finance key stakeholders. And of course there can be many more tasks and phases in an implementation project. Let's just take these 3 over here. We have our main project, we have the first phase, and within that phase there are different tasks. So this is the scheduling that I'm trying to do. So first I have specified the names. Next I have to specify effort. Now I can specify the effort in 3 different ways. I can either specify an hour, and the start date and end date will automatically adjust itself, and also the duration will adjust itself, or I can provide start and end date, and effort and duration will adjust themselves, or I can provide duration and effort and start date will adjust themselves. So let's just say that the project kickoff usually takes 4 hours, so I will edit 4 hours, and you will notice that there is no change because it's half a day, so it will just take the same day when it's starting. And the key stakeholder meeting, let's just say it takes 8 hours, right? And it is the next day. Now the requirements for finance key stakeholders would usually take a lot more hours. So in this case, instead of specifying the hours, let me just specify the days. I will say it would take 3 days, right? You will notice that it adjusts the effort to 72 hours, right? As far as the date is concerned, you might have to adjust that a little bit. So in this case, it's taking 3 days. Now there's one more thing that you will notice is that all these hours are being rolled up to the parent requirement, right? So 84 hours has been rolled up over here, and hence 84 hours to the total project effort. Now there's another thing that you can do is provide predecessors. So for example, in order to start the key stakeholder meetings, it's necessary for me to first finish the project kickoff meeting. So in this case, I will say that task 1.1 is the predecessor of this task, right? And similarly, task 1.2 is the predecessor of task 1.3, right? So this predecessor can be any task in the whole list. So in a way, you provide the system information that, which task should come first before this task could really happen. Now, there's one more thing that we need to do is to provide resources for all these particular tasks. So let's say for project kickoff, I would need a project manager, a functional consultant, and maybe a business analyst as well. So what you do is go over here under the resources column, click on the plus to add. Since right now the resources are created, so you can have to create from scratch. So let's say we type in project manager and click on create, and this will open a quick create form, and all we need to do is assign the role. So in this case, we have a role called project manager, and we'll assign it to the project manager, and then click on save and close. So let's go ahead and also create for functional consultant and business analyst. So click on add over here and say functional consultant, click on create, assign the role functional consultant, and click on save and close. And then we can add business analyst as well, and then assign the role business analyst. And by the way, if you don't know how to create the role, I have discussed that in previous videos, so you can have a look at that as well. So assign the business analyst and click on save and close. Now for key stakeholder meeting, we only require functional consultant and business analyst, so we can click on add We can choose functional consultant, and we can choose business analyst. And then for the requirements from finance key stakeholders, we just require a business analyst, so we can select that. So similarly, you can define resources for various stages and tasks. Now let's say there are different tasks which are running in parallel. So for example, over here, let me add one more task, and let me just copy this and paste it over here. And let's say requirements from purchasing key holder. So the finance requirements and the purchasing requirements, maybe sales requirements also, would be happening in parallel, right? So if we say that these are in parallel and would take another 3 days again, but it will be on the same dates because these tasks are happening in parallel. So the business analyst over here in this stage will not be able to perform his duties over here because these tasks are happening in parallel. So instead, I should have actually called this business analyst finance. So what I can do, I can create a new one. So I can call him business analyst purchasing and apply the role business analyst again and click on save. So similarly, you can assign resources and also attach the same roles to them. So similarly, I have gone ahead and extended this schedule over here. So I have included requirement phase, design phase, development phase, system testing and deployment. This is just for an example. The actual project or an actual project template would be something different with more tasks and more detailing. So this is just to make you understand that you can define your structure, schedule structure over here. You can define the predecessors, you can define the effort over here, start, end date, duration, and also assign the resources. And if you assign the resources like this, whenever the resource requirement is generated, it will let you know that to be able to complete this project, you will need these many resources. So based on your projects, you can define your own scheduling. Now over here on the top right hand side corner, you can see that the estimated labor cost has been calculated based on the resourcing and the duration and the hours that has been put over here. And if you also go to the summary tab, then you can see estimated hours, estimated labor cost has already been achieved based on our setup. So we can now use this template to actually create a project. So let us go and have a look at that. Now let us go to our codes. So this is our code. And if you want to know how to create this project codes, we had created this example in one of our previous videos, so you can also have a look at that. So since we are still in the planning stage, it has not been finalized yet, so we are in the codes right now. And if we go to the C, then you can see all the code details over here. So this is the code. If I go to my code lines, you will notice that we had created a project based line called Business Central Implementation Services, and there is no project linked to this line yet. So let's open that. Now in this form, you will notice that there is a field called project, and there is no project at the moment. You can click on a new project. The quick create form, we can specify the name, and let me provide the description. So Business Central Implementation for Adventure Works. Is it a template? No, it's not a template, but we are going to use a template. So if we click on search over here, then we can select the template that we had created just a while back, and then specify the contracting unit, which is going to be Tech Quantum AU. And we can also specify the estimated start dates. So you will notice that the estimated hours has been generated and estimated total cost has been generated for you based on the template. So you can just click on save and close. And now the project should be created based on that template. So if we click on this project, and here you will notice that the project has been created and all the details have been copied from the template as well. If you go to the schedule, you will notice that it has synced and created the work breakdown structure or the schedule that we had created in the template. So this project is attached to the code line, and the schedule is generated automatically based on the template that we selected. And here you will notice that the due date is automatically calculated for you, and also the estimated labor cost is updated. Now, if for some reason you do not see that this is updated, you just click on refresh on the schedule, and also try to open the tabs like resource assignments, reconciliation estimates, and expense estimates. And just click on refresh on those tabs, and the system will then sync the estimated labor cost. Also, you can go to the summary tab, and you can see the estimated hours and estimated labor cost is updated. The total cost is updated over here. Again, going back to the schedule, you will see that, all the scheduling tasks are available, and the resources as we had defined in the template are available over here. And if you go to the theme, you will notice that all the generic resources have been specified over here. Now, since this is in the planning stage still, so when you do the actual project, you can then assign the actual resource over here. So instead of a generic resource, the actual name of the bookable resource will be specified here, right? Similarly, if you go to estimates, you will see that the system has generated cost per role. So you can actually group by role or category or resource, and you can time phase it by cost or sales, right? So here it says the project manager and time wise when he's required and what would be the cost. And if you want to see the time scale in day, week, month, you can select it over here. So you can choose month over here, and the cost will be shown you in month wise. Similarly for different roles like functional consultant and business analyst and so on and so forth. So this is how you can see the cost, that is the cost that you are going to incur as a company. And if you want to see the sales, you can select the time phase by sales over here, and this is what you are going to charge to the customer, right? And if you want to make changes to the prices, you can do that, and then you can click on update prices functionality and refresh, so all the prices and the totaling will be rolled up accordingly, right? So this is how you can create project templates, and you can also create projects based on those templates, which helps you to reduce a lot of manual work while creating the schedule. But of course you also have the possibility of creating the schedule manually as well, right? So why don't you go ahead and try it out for yourself.